Alrighty, finally some decent action today, huh? It is Wednesday, May 22nd, starting off with ES here for a quick session recap. We came into the session wanting to see how price was going to be trading from that overnight test of the near-term range high. Remember yesterday's session recap coming into the close yesterday, talking about this test of that near-term range high. Price currently trading within that near-term range. 53.05 by 53.50 is the current range, less than 1 ATR for the past 4 sessions, for the past 5 sessions. Now, Thursday, Friday, Monday, Tuesday, and today. Today's move, even less than 1 full ATR. Even though there was some decent volatility, still not even trading that complete average true range, which is what that ATR is. And so coming into the sesh, want to see if sellers are able to show this continuation move lower. For that, the primary watch was this reaction versus that 53.33. That is a level of interest and also happens to be the near-term volume point of control right now as well. So this morning, quite slow. We were expecting it to be a much slower morning simply because we did not have any economic data prints, any notable economic data prints on the calendar this morning. The only thing we really had was the 20-year auction, which did not really give much activity, and then the FOMC minutes. Finally get some activity with the FOMC minutes, with price resolving a bit lower here into that near-term range low. Look at the action from this morning. You want to be really, really cautious in this type of barcode action. Yeah, you could get away with a couple of scalps if you have really tight entries, really good trade location, but most of the time, especially if you're a developing trader, it's better off to sit out of that action, wait for some stronger setups with a bit more volatility, kind of like what we saw this afternoon. Some really good action here this afternoon. Generally speaking, those are going to be easier setups than trying to fight what I call this barcode type of action. Thankfully, now we know prior to the session even starting that it will be a slow morning, right? We can say with a high degree of probability whether or not it's going to be slow or not, and then we just look for price and volume to kind of confirm that thesis, and then from there we can lean off the keys. And I reiterate that frequently because that type of action used to absolutely crush me as a developing trader. And so I know that happens to a lot of people. Don't want to see it happen to you. So if I can offer a little bit of warning just to lean off the keys a little bit, maybe drop size or maybe just not even trade at all, and that saves you some losses, then that makes me happy. So anyway, as far as what we're looking at here on ES, range trading continues, right? Got your near-term range high there, 53.50 by 53.05. We see price testing that near-term range low here this afternoon. You get a nice bounce, some nice long opportunities there. As we get into the close, you can see that price has already pretty much retested that 53.33. So depending on where we settle here, as well as what type of move NVDA earnings has for us, I'm most likely going to be looking at the reaction versus this 53.20 downside level of interest, or potentially that 53.33 level of interest. Now, as always, the best opportunities are obviously near the edges of the range, right? Because that's where you can expect a much larger asymmetrical opportunity. These mid-range reference points can be solid, but we do want to be more cautious with trades that are placed in those locations. So ideally, we get some more action versus the edges tomorrow. If not, we'll just be working with these mid-range reference points, either 53.33 or that 53.20. But as far as the structure is concerned, sideways range, right? Sideways range. Let's jump over to NQ. Now, this morning, one of the things I had mentioned that we had kind of seen some differences here between ES and NQ. ES trading within a true sideways range. NQ actually made a fresh all-time high yesterday and a fresh all-time high this morning during that overnight / pre-market session. Now, the structure here does show a series of higher lows, which again I highlighted this morning, and currently that structure remains intact, right? Price did not violate that most recent higher low. So we have potentially a fresh higher low here. That won't be validated until price actually makes a fresh high here. But essentially, buyers remain pretty firmly in control of this tape in NQ, with price not even trading down into some of those lower areas of support, right? We just have a very shallow pullback into that 18,700 level of interest right near that prior day low, developing what can be called a higher low here on this 30-minute chart. Right through here, let this rescale. There we go. So for tomorrow, going to be either looking at 18,800 reaction here versus that 800 level, that upside level of interest like we were this morning, or 18,700. Near-term volume point of control right through here at 18,750. That'll be noteworthy as a reference point. Definitely. All the volume from the past week or so, or most of the volume rather, has traded at this 18,750. So definitely a significant pivot, at least in the near term. So we'll see where price kind of settles here with NVDA earnings coming up after the close. Overall, though, not much to update here from what we've been talking about the past week or so. Structure continues to kind of grind higher here in NQ. ES trades within a near-term range. Both indices putting in less than a 1 ATR move for the past 5 days. Quite slow. This is typical for summer as well, right? I do think we'll have some isolated pockets of volatility here and there, but if you look at historical analogs as far as the market is concerned and volatility, summer tends to be the slowest period. People want to get outside and get that sun on their skin. So some things to keep in mind as well. Hope you guys had a good session. As far as tomorrow, what we'll be looking at here on NQ, like I said, 18,800. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a DM in the Traders Think Tank. Otherwise, I'll see you tomorrow morning for the pre-market prep live stream. Have a good afternoon.